A vast, desolate field of sharp lava rock stretched out before them, with the black peak of the volcano towering in its middle.
So my brother went up to the top and looked over the ledge, and then he turned around, his eyes were big, he's like, we gotta go down.
So we're all just kind of looking around, and then we see some tumbling orange balls coming down the side of the mountain. We're like, holy cow, that doesn't seem good.
And then all of a sudden, we hear screaming. My brother behind us just said, just run, just run.
This is the Miracle Files. I'm Emily Jones.
And I'm Holly Worthington. We're two sisters who love a captivating true story, but we're also seeking more light in our lives.
So we're on a mission to find and share unforgettable, uplifting stories of God's miracles. We hope you'll join us on this journey.
Welcome back to the Miracle Files. We are so excited to share this week's story with you. And if you remember clear back to our lion attack episode, this one also takes place in Guatemala, in like the same area of Guatemala.
Yeah, and I thought that I was only going to have to say Esquipulas in that episode, and it was so hard to say. You managed to find another story where I have to say it again, because this one also takes place in Esquipulas, Guatemala.
Oh, it always brings me a little bit of joy when I can make you say hard to pronounce words.
I've already got so much slack online because in our Mystery Boat episode, which is our most viewed episode, apparently I said lures instead of lures. There's so many people like, come on, lady, who can't say lures? I'm like, forgive me. I don't know. I try.
We grew up in Idaho. I mean, we do the best we can.
I don't know. Whatever. Anyway, let's jump in.
Yeah, let's do it.
In December 2008, Pacaya volcano was waking up. This volcano is a popular tourist spot in Guatemala, as it's one of the only active volcanoes in the world where you can hike to the top, camp, and even toast marshmallows on its vents. It sounds friendly enough, but Pacaya has a dark side and a death toll. As the holiday season approached, Pacaya began bubbling with activity, sending out lava flow tendrils and spewing minor eruptions from its mouth. At the same time, the Hanson family embarked on a journey to Guatemala. Kaitlyn Hanson, along with her parents, older brother Adrian, and younger sister Corinne, journeyed together to visit Kaitlyn's other brother, Philip. Here's Kaitlyn.
My second oldest brother had just graduated college and was living in Esquipulas, Guatemala, doing mission work for a year through a program with the university that he graduated from. And he was living in a monastery and working with the community, and then doing some work with an orphanage up in the foothills. So our whole family went to visit him around the holidays.
After a few days in Esquipulas, filled with sightseeing and reconnecting with Philip, the Hanson family decided to venture to Antigua, a city renowned for its colonial architecture and stunning vistas. The air buzzed with excitement as they wandered through colonial markets, sampled local delicacies, and soaked in the festive atmosphere. It was here that Kaitlyn's brother Philip proposed an adventure that would ignite their curiosity, a hike to explore the nearby volcano, Pacaya.
And we were kind of just exploring, and one of the ideas that my brother had recommended that he had heard other people experience was going to a volcano outside of the city, and you get to like hike on the volcano, you get to see lava flows. And so I was like, well, that seems really cool.
The next morning, the Hansons got up before daybreak, filled with anticipation. Philip had a mission partner whose family was also visiting, so the two families joined a group of tourists and boarded a rugged van that took them on an hour-long drive down winding roads and lush greenery. As they neared Pacaya, its dark peak seemed to peer down at them. The family chatted happily at the base, unaware of the heat and pressure building inside the imposing volcano. At the base, they were greeted by local guides. The guides spoke little English, but Philip and his mission partner were able to bridge the language gap. A small, thin Guatemalan woman explained that she would be their guide and the Hanson family followed her to the trail.
So the group that we were with was our family, his missionary partner's family, and then a woman and her nephew who are from Guatemala. The nephew being the youngest one in our group was probably between 8 or 10 years old.
The hike began with a steady ascent through dense foliage, with the scent of damp earth mingling with the crisp mountain air. The group noted that the climb was more difficult than what they'd anticipated. Still, they marveled at the beauty around them. Every so often, they would stop and look out over the green valleys below. As Kaitlyn and her family pressed on, the trail grew steeper and even more difficult to climb. After hiking for about 2 hours, a vast, desolate field of sharp lava rock stretched out before them, with the black peak of the volcano towering in its middle. After walking through the jagged lava bed, the guides started scrambling up the peak. Here's Kaitlyn's brother, Phil.
You get up there, it's really windy and breezy, and all the volcanic rock we're hiking on is super sharp. It's getting really, really steep. There's no trail anymore. We're kind of walking like on all fours almost because it's really steep. They're like, man, this is sharp. So we're like tucking our hands into our sleeves to try not to get cut because the rocks are so sharp.
Kaitlyn's heart raced as they scrambled upwards. The thrill of adventure morphed into an unsettling feeling, a creeping sense of danger that gnawed at her gut.
And there was a lot of unstable little rock slides, like the rocks would kind of slide out from under your feet, or someone would say from up above you, they'd be like, heads up, and like rocks come tumbling down at you. It felt so like, this doesn't feel secure.
What the Hanson family and other hikers didn't know is that only the day before, there had been a lava flow that had tumbled over the volcano and covered the regular hiking path. Their guide was the first to try to traverse a new path up the peak. She climbed adeptly, but Kaitlyn and her family felt unsettled. This path seemed too rugged to be normal. Another small group caught up with them, about 50 yards to their left. Their group was also trying to find a way up the peak. Suddenly, chaos erupted. A loud thud echoed as a rock the size of a basketball tumbled down the slope, narrowly missing the nearby group of hikers. The two guides began to yell at each other in rapid Spanish, their voices filled with tension. The air grew thick with uncertainty, and Kaitlyn exchanged glances with her sister, both feeling an instinctual alarm.
My sister and I, who are pretty close in age, looked at each other and were like, this doesn't feel right. My sister's like, yeah, I keep envisioning like a horror movie where all of a sudden someone says, run! And we're supposed to somehow run down this mountain that we can hardly even scramble up. Also, how are we supposed to get down?
Kaitlyn's brother Adrian was at the front of the line, just behind their guide. The guide reached a ledge that lay below the top peak of the volcano. Kaitlyn assumed they would climb over the ledge and keep going. Instead, the guide peered over the ledge and suddenly spun around. Trying not to cause alarm at first, she calmly suggested everyone turn back. She then began scrambling quickly downhill.
She's like, come on, let's go. And we're like, well, where are we going? So my brother went up to the top and looked over the ledge, and he said he saw what he would have described as like a 6-foot tall wall of red and orange molten lava with like a black face that was all like crackly. Then he turned around, his eyes were big. He's like, we gotta go down. And we're all like, oh, well, how are we supposed to get down?
What Adrian had seen on the other side of the ledge was exactly what Kaitlyn and Corinne had feared. A scene straight out of a nightmare. The guide, small and agile, and accustomed to climbing these rocks every day, raced past them and was soon down the hill, off in the distance. She abandoned the Hanson family, the local woman, and her nephew, who had to find their own way down.
So we decided to stop and start making our way back down, but you have to kind of pick your way. It's really slow. It's unstable rock. If you move the wrong way, a piece will kind of tumble, maybe the size of a basketball or something. But there are people below you, so you have to be very careful. Only one person can kind of move at a time because you might push some rocks on somebody else. So we're slowly making our way down, and then all of a sudden we hear whistles.
All of the guides had whistles, and suddenly every guide within the area began blowing their whistles with all of their might. The chilling, shrill sound echoed throughout the mountainside. The hikers knew this couldn't be a good sign.
So we're all just kind of looking around, and then we see some tumbling orange balls coming down the side of the mountain. We're like, whoa. We look to our right, and there was a line of tourists going up, and sure enough, a ball of lava was tumbling down right near them, and some of them had to kind of move out to the side. The ball of lava was probably the size of like a mini fridge, like a college dorm fridge. We're like, holy cow, that doesn't seem good. So we continue down, and then very soon after that, we hear more whistles, and we're turning. At this point, we know what that means, so we're turning around looking, and now the lava is tumbling down directly in our path.
And then all of a sudden, we hear screaming, and we turn and look, and these big chunks, like baseball, basketball, and bigger lava chunks are starting to tumble over the ledge. So we can't see where they're coming from because it's like behind the top rim. But these lava chunks just start randomly tumbling over the edge.
Now, a lurking lava flow, pushing a pile of huge rocks onto a group of hikers, is bad enough, especially when there's no easy way to retreat. But there's something about these types of lava rocks that is even more frightening. Not only are these rocks composed of boiling molten lava, but nothing about them is uniform. With their jagged edges and random shapes, they don't roll. Instead, much like a football bounces, they hit the ground and fly in completely haphazard directions. They break apart as they land, sending smaller rocks and lava in all directions. With more and more balls of lava cascading down toward the hikers, the odds of someone getting severely injured or even dying were increasing by the minute. The two families and the aunt and nephew struggled to know which way to move.
I turned and ran. My sister was next to me. She was stumbling, so she fell. I tried to grab her. My brothers behind us just said, just run, just run.
The rocky mountainside was incredibly difficult to traverse. It was impossible to help one another, as everyone had to move quickly and go in single file. But Phil helped in the best way he knew possible. He positioned himself on a ridge where the rocks seemed to tumble to one side or the other. He turned and began directing people where to jump.
And he turned and was looking up to the people above him and saying, go left, go right. Because the thing is, every time you turn to run, you don't know what's coming from behind you. You can't see the rock that might be about to smack you in the back of the head or take out your feet. So it made it really hard. Like, you can't run down while looking over your shoulder. So it was a very impossible situation to know how to navigate. When I looked up, I could see my brother on the ridge trying to tell people where to go. My oldest brother, who was the one that was closest to the top, who saw the lava wall, he was at the top and trying to come down. He was up, and the little boy was kind of up there near him because he wasn't as quick to come down.
While Adrian and the boy tried to find a way down, Phil tried to help his sister Corinne, who was struggling as well. She began to panic and didn't dare move at all.
So my brother then is trying to get my sister down, and he said, okay, you've got to go now. And she started heading down. Right as she started heading down off the ridge, another big tumbling rock came down. He's like, no, Corinne, come back, climb. Because this rock is coming right at her, because you have to kind of pass across one of the pathways of where some of the rocks were tumbling in order to get down to safety. And so she tries to go down. He screams at her to come back up. She scrambles back up to where he's at, and then she's like frozen. She's panicking.
Corinne dug her fingers into the spiky rocks, bracing herself for the worst. The boulder thundered past her, a narrow miss. Phil exhaled a breath of relief. His sister was safe, untouched by the fiery rocks for now. That's when the whistles started blowing again, and this time, a gigantic lava rock, the size of a full-size refrigerator, crashed over the ledge.
We hear these loud whistles. We turn and look up the mountain. There's this huge boulder tumbling kind of chaotically down. It's molten lava, so it is spraying and flinging smaller pieces as it's tumbling. And it's directly in line with my brother and then myself. I distinctly remember looking up at my brother, and he's silhouetted in orange. And I just see his body silhouetted in orange, and the orange, of course, is the orange glow from the lava.
The lava rock wasn't just heading straight at Adrian. It was also on the path of the young boy. And believe it or not, a photographer who was hiking the volcano at the time caught this insane moment on his camera. In the picture, you can see Adrian crouching in front of a giant glowing orange ball of molten lava. And you know this isn't going to end well. Except it did. Phil called to his brother to jump. Heroically, Adrian didn't just jump. He also pushed the young boy out of the way and leaped backwards. The boulder passed right between the two of them, taking the boy's shoe with it and burning his foot. The boulder then diverted down over another ledge where the Hansons' mother had gone. But in this moment of divine intervention, it somehow missed everyone. Only the boy received a minor injury, but his life was spared. It felt like an eternity of chaos. But finally, the Hanson family was able to regroup in a safe area, shaken but alive. The relief washed over them like a warm blanket. At the same time, the reality of their situation settled in. The Hansons huddled together, bloodied and bruised, their bodies cut and scraped from the jagged rocks. But they were all accounted for. The weight of what they had just survived hung heavy in the air. The whole family came together in a group hug.
Like, it just kind of was like, we're all here, we're all safe, we're all alive, we're all walking. It just felt like this safe bubble, which was an interesting sensation after such panic.
We were crying, we were consoling each other, everybody was hugging everybody, and just making sure we were all okay, providing comfort. And then people were like, were you the ones up there? Like, yeah, no, that was us.
Never before had family meant so much to the Hansons than at that moment, as they circled one another with gratitude and love. As they finally descended the mountain, they encountered curious onlookers, eyes wide with disbelief at the sight of the battered family. Kaitlyn felt an odd mix of pride and humility. They had faced a primal fear and emerged together. Each step down felt like a victory, a testament to their resilience and the bonds that held them together. Upon reaching the town, they were met by medical personnel in an emergency vehicle. But Kaitlyn was in nursing school and her mother was a nurse. They were certain they could treat the family's injuries themselves. That night, as they gathered in their cramped hostel room, the atmosphere shifted from frantic to reflective. Bandages were applied to their wounds, laughter mingled with tears, and the gravity of their experience weighed down heavily on their hearts. Kaitlyn looked around at her family, feeling an overwhelming sense of gratitude.
And I remember that night, once everything was quiet and we laid down to go to sleep, I remember the gratitude and feeling like grateful to God for like all being safe and okay and alive.
As time has passed, Kaitlyn has pondered that day many times and believes it was a miracle.
I would say the biggest miracle is that we were all alive at the end and that none of us were seriously injured. How did none of the rocks hit somebody? And if there wasn't a direct hit, how was it not that someone got hit by the spewing of chunks coming off? And just the miracle of like, we're running down, we can't see what's behind us, and the timing of my brother turning to look. Like, if no one had told Adrian to dive, he wouldn't have even known what was about to hit him, you know?
The miraculous timing of each rock, boulder, piece of molten lava is a blessing Kaitlyn and her family will forever be grateful for. And the fact that Adrian was close enough and heroic enough to be aware of another's needs was a miracle for the boy whose life Adrian saved. Beyond these more obvious miracles was the way this experience also forged an unbreakable bond among the members of the Hanson family. Sadly, Adrian passed away 12 years after surviving the volcano incident.
You know, Adrian could have died that day, or any of us could have, but Adrian specifically, just because of that moment that he almost got plowed over. But like, there was more things he was meant to do before his time.
Kaitlyn and her family are grateful they got 12 more years with their heroic brother, and they look back on this experience as one they will never forget. Pacaya Volcano tested their limits, but it also revealed the profound love and resilience of family, and serves as a reminder that life is a fragile gift, meant to be cherished.
We have mentioned this before, but our parents actually lived in Guatemala for a year doing dental work for orphans, and we visited them with our husbands. And on my trip to Guatemala, we actually hiked this volcano. I've been there. I've seen it. I've walked on that super sharp, hard to walk on lava rock. And it's like walking on big chunks of broken glass. Like, it's amazing to me that this family didn't have more injuries than they had.
Yeah, you can see from the pictures that they sent us, their legs were super bloody and cut up just from trying to go down so fast. But at the end of the day, I think they were just happy that they walked away with nothing but bloody legs, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think they felt very blessed that that's all that happened.
Yeah, it was incredible. And we actually looked into it. I mean, it's not like what happened to them is super common. It's not like this happens every day in Pacaya.
Yeah. I mean, it's a very active volcano, of course.
Yeah.
But having huge lava rocks flying down at you is crazy. That does not happen often.
You didn't have lava rocks flying down on you while you were there?
No, we did. We actually did hear rumblings, though. Like, we heard like some kind of booming sounds coming out of the volcano. And in fact, we have a picture like where we're, roasting our marshmallows on the vents. And suddenly we look up and we're like terrified because we hear these rumblings from the volcano. And we asked the guide, is that normal? And he's like, oh yeah, no big deal. So it's kind of funny. I'm sure they hear those rumblings all the time. No big deal, right? But on this day, things got really out of hand.
And it's so interesting to think about Guatemala, how different it is than a lot of other countries where, there are regulations. Like, I don't imagine a lot of places where you could actually go that close to the volcano.
No, we said that the whole time we were there.
Yeah.
We kept saying they would never let us do this back home. But
yeah, it's like a completely different world there. We did an excursion in Guatemala where we actually went whale watching. And I've been on tons of whale watching trips before. And I'm like kind of used to, you get on a dock on this big boat. They take you out and you see whales. Mm-hmm. It was completely different in Guatemala. So we got on this tiny little boat. It's just two guides, our parents and Christian and me. And there's no dock. And it's in one of these little motorboats where they have to pull the string like a lawnmower just to get the motor running.
Oh my God.
We got 12 Guatemalan men all surrounding this little boat. And we were going off into the ocean where these big crashing waves. So what they would do is they'd have 6 guys on each side.
Oh yeah, that's the Pacific Ocean. So those are big waves.
They were big waves.
Because you were on the Pacific side.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
And so they would be like, go, 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 go. And all 12 guys would start to push us out towards the ocean. And then they'd be like, no, 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 no. And then they'd back up and you'd see this massive wave come crashing down and think, that would have been us. And so they had to time it just right just to get us out of the waves. I mean, it's just, they would never allow anything like that here in the United States. It's just so funny, but it was so fun. I mean, it was an amazing trip.
Yeah, we rode a raft in Cayman-filled waters. We went, I mean, I could go on and on. I won't go on and on, but it was an adventure of a lifetime.
Yeah, for sure.
So one of the things I wanted to talk about before we close is that a lot of people probably would call this luck. A lot of people might say, this family was just lucky that they didn't get hit by any of those rocks, that things worked out okay. So what would you say to that?
Well, I mean, you can say this was lucky, and I definitely respect people who say that this was lucky. But I don't know. I also think there's just more to it than that. You could say God's involved in your life, or you don't have to believe that. But I believe that he was involved in this situation.
Yeah, I look at it like God is in control. And I really believe God protected this family. And
I do too.
Because it wasn't their time to go.
And this little boy.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that Adrian was close enough to him, the fact that Philip saw and was able to warn them in time, I just think that there was enough divine intervention there that I just believe that God was there.
Yeah, I do
He was
too.
a part of it.
I do too. Yeah, they were truly heroes to those brothers.
Yeah, for sure.
And definitely God used them to save that little boy.
Yeah. All right. Well, we want to thank you guys for joining us today. Thank you so much for supporting our podcast. And God is so great, and He provides miracles in our lives every day, all the time, big and small.
He does. And if you know anyone who could use these positive messages, please share this podcast with them. And don't forget to subscribe yourself so that you don't miss any episodes. Thank you for joining us. If you have a miracle to share, contact us at themiraclefiles.com or find us on Facebook.
We're now releasing multiple episodes each month, so subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and YouTube for amazing video content as well.
Join us next time as we discover more of God's miracles. And don't forget to look for His light in your own lives.